Is this whole episode going to be recapping the relationship part of this show? What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ben, and today I'll be reacting to The Legend of Korra Season 4, Episode 8. Now, we are getting into, I think, the final stretch of this season, and I guess the show as a whole now. And I'm just starting to get very excited into what the build-up could be. The last episode was great, and it was quite calm in comparison to everything that came before it. Just dealing with the aftermath of Korra losing the fight with Kuvira, but also showing that she isn't letting that stick with her, and she's moving on and actually improving in other ways. Like, she's managed to get sort of a good understanding of how the energy stuff works. I don't understand it, but she does. Great. So I'm really hoping that will become useful and we can see her use it more in different ways. Because it's something that Aang never picked up. This is a completely new thing for the Avatar, and I'm excited to just see how that will be incorporated. We also finally saw a reunion between Korra, Asami, and Mako, and that's just great to see. Glad that she's finally back with them after everything, and it just seems like she's doing better. Of course, now I need her to reunite with Bolin just to make it all feel complete. Speaking of Bolin, he is still stuck with Varric, and I'm so happy just seeing them on their little travels. Varric is becoming a hero. We saw him save Bolin with an EMP, and just seeing how good he is on the field in combat and be able to do something like that. It was awesome. So I'm just seeing his growth as he's on the run, and I can't wait to see what that will result in. Because of course, his Julie is still with Kuvira. I still think it's going to be a double agent. We've seen everything that Bolin has gone through with Varric, and there's just no way that someone who's put up with that for however long Julie has would turn against him rather easily. Yeah, the big thing from the last episode is that Kuvira is now messing with the swamp tree spirit vines, which seems like an absolute nightmare, because she says that it's more powerful than the ones from Republic City, but also this tree, I know it's basically the counterpart to the Tree of Time in the spirit world, so messing with this thing could have like a whole load of untold consequences. I'm excited to find out what those are, but what I'm most excited for is to see if this could bring Toph back. I love Toph, I want to see her again, and this feels like the perfect way to do it. Kuvira is messing with Toph's home. It's how she sees things now through the vines, and Kuvira's directly messing with that. Because I just want to know what would happen if Toph basically went against it or disavowed Kuvira, considering how highly the Earth Kingdom holds Toph. But yeah, as always, if you do enjoy this video, please remember to like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel to grow. If you do enjoy my content and you want to help support the channel, I do have a Patreon, the link will be in the description, of them uploading these videos and the full reaction a week in advance. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to check it out. But with that said, let's just dive on in.
Something about being kidnapped that makes a guy realize he needs to get his act together.
Development.
Yeah, I agree. Let's toughen you up.
Something. This could just be a joke, though.
I wasn't ready! Woo down!
I got my hopes up.
Mako, how dare you injure the prince?
This is not good. He's never going to develop here at all. As long as he's being coddled like this, he's not going to think he's got anything to improve on.
I wasn't raised by a pack of tops in the woods.
What?
You don't know anything about me, do you?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Why is that?
You don't ask.
You never ask?
Well, I'm asking now.
Something. I think this is something.
You dated the Avatar? You and I need to have a little gab session right now.
This just means he's not sparring anymore.
You were a pro bender?
Yes. Will you just let me tell the story?
At least he's interested. I think this is some kind of development. Yes, this is like just recapping the history and stuff. I think this is development for Wu. He's kind of getting out of just fighting and I guess sparring here and just getting stronger. But he's actually taking an interest in Mako's life, not just being so self-involved.
That was the first time you met. Kind of rude there, buddy.
You know what else is rude? Interrupting.
It's also nice to see that Mako has developed through this little recap as well, reminding us of that.
So then you smooched her real good, huh?
Not exactly.
No, we got run over first.
I mean, I was
This recap could be interesting because it's reminding me just how little Asami has been utilized in this show. She was introduced basically as Mako's girlfriend and as a love interest character. Season 2 she was forgotten about. Of course, Season 1 she did have the interesting story between her and her father, which they're bringing up again, and I'm interested to see where that will go, but again, it's reusing that thing from Season 1. She hasn't really gotten anything new. Season 3, she got more to do, but not really her own thing, unless I'm drawing a blank on it. No, she didn't really get much to do in Season 3 either. She was just more present. And in this season, it's just between her and her father, which is done again. And it feels like there's so much more she could do being like the head of an industry person company.
We need to talk.
Save your breath. You've already made it clear how you feel about me.
Oh no, this is the Bolin scene.
As much as you drive me crazy, I also think you're pretty amazing.
Gonna cut to Bolin? No, you're not gonna tell Wu about that bit.
I thought you were dating Asami.
Get out of here!
Naughty Mako, you take after your grandfather.
I wasn't dating Asami.
Denial.
Okay, maybe I was dating her. It was all very confusing.
Now they're going back to like a relationship drama. I didn't care for this. I'm just going to take this recap as just watching character development, not looking back at the relationships. Because that basically is it, but I can stand that bit.
I want you to know how much I care about you.
I care about you too.
Was that supposed to be you breaking up with her?
Yes, that was a breakup.
That was not a breakup.
It was mutual. We had an understanding. We both knew. Can I just get on with the rest of my story or what?
It was a really bad breakup.
Hope you weren't as ambiguous with Korra as you were with Asami.
That one was even worse. She forgot.
I was finally able to tell her how I felt. Exactly how I felt. I love you, Korra.
And that amounted to nothing. Yep, you broke up. Korra forgot and you had that whole nightmare. Yep. This is just going to be a whole recap. Is this whole episode going to be recapping the relationship part of this show?
Don't let me stand in the way of you writing tickets.
Maybe there's no room for our relationship.
The relationships were never fun in this show, were they? That's what this recap is reminding me of. It's not fond looking back on these. There was so much more interesting stuff going on and the relationships just got in the way. I think with the previous show, with Aang, the relationship stuff was just a nice sweet thing on the side of the main thing. That's why it worked. If you just shoved a whole bunch of like drama in there, it wouldn't have worked as well. That's what happened here. Plus, it doesn't really feel like they knew what they were doing with the relationships. As in, like, with Aang and Katara, you knew that one was going to be the end game. You knew that was just always going to happen. With this one, it feels like they've gone full in with one, that ended, go full in with another one, that ended, go back to the one before, that ended. It didn't feel like they knew what they were doing and which characters were going to end up with each other. So it just went back and forth a whole bunch of times, and it made it just very messy.
You officially broke up with Korra, and therefore you're free to smooch whoever you wish.
Wait for
If
it.
only it had been that simple.
Yeah, needlessly complicated.
Korra! Hey, I missed you too.
I mean, the worst part about it is the relationship stuff ends up bleeding into the rest of the group and how that all works. Because it's just one massive triangle of romance.
And I lost my memory for a little while. Maybe it hasn't all come back yet. Was it a bad fight?
Could have just been honest, but again, she was dealing with things, best to just go along with it.
Me and Asami were never officially back together.
Really? That again?
Don't try and do technicalities with it. I do like seeing this whole thing where they're talking about it as they're doing the recap. It's quite fun.
I think we both know that this, us, doesn't work.
Maybe the intention of the relationship stuff was just to show that it didn't work to begin with. That could have been it. They just wanted to emphasize that.
At first, it was awkward being around Korra and Asami.
Okay, so season 3 now. We're going through it all. There's no relationship drama in season 3. That was fine, right? What's left to recap?
I had to figure out who I was without a lady in my life.
I know what that's like. I mean, to need distance from women.
Just stop.
Helped Korra defeat Zahir, and we did it as friends.
Yes, it worked best.
Really learned something.
You did?
Did he?
I learned that I really didn't know anything about.
Oh my god. So yeah, learned absolutely nothing.
I realized that ladies are complicated. No offense, Grandma.
None taken.
He calls her grandma too.
Come at me. I can take it. Ah! Woo down!
How can he develop? He needs to start developing soon if he's going to lead the nation, if Kuvira can be defeated.
I've just been thinking about something Toph said. She told me that the world doesn't need me, and it's basically pointless to try to stop Kuvira.
What did Toph truly mean by that? I mean, I doubt.
The world does need you. You're the Avatar.
But no matter what I do, the world seems to always be out of balance.
And it always will be. That's just the thing. Accept it.
Wait to be the Avatar. I thought I was really gonna change things.
Oh, now we're recapping Korra's side of everything. Oh, this is a recap episode. That's when the second half at least would continue new things.
No!
She's lost her bending, surprisingly, twice. That's quite... First with, like, Aman, then with Unalaq. It's weird that it's happened twice.
Forgetting about all the good that happened after you exposed Amon as the
Yes, Avatar was needed for this.
free elections were held in the United Republic and non-benders finally had a voice.
This is nice, fully highlighting everything that Korra has done. It doesn't feel helpless. It doesn't feel like there's always stuff that's out of balance. There has been a general good that Korra's been able to do.
As soon as I defeated Amon, a new enemy took his place.
No, there always will be one.
You made me think you wanted to restore balance with the spirits, but this isn't balance, it's madness.
Is there really a way, specifically, that the Avatar can restore balance completely? Well, I feel like it is just to keep going with things and keep trying to do this way. Balance kind of, I guess the meaning of balance is, does she have the meaning of balance wrong? Balance is, there's an evil, you gotta take it out, that's balance. If there was just a good person, that wouldn't technically be balance, so there always would have to be someone for Korra to fight. Then she lost her pending for a second time.
Destroying Rava and cutting off my connection to my past lives.
It's just the connection to the past lives. That's how I'm going to understand it, because I still feel odd about it. Because like Aang gone, but it's the connection that's gone. Aang technically maybe still somewhere, just reborn without memories, who knows? Or whatever happens after, but I'd like to think that he's out there somewhere. Just that the connection between Korra and the past lives are gone.
And opening the spirit portals turned out to be a good thing.
Yes, eventually it was.
You brought back the airbenders and caused a positive shift in the...
There was some chaos, but that got sorted.
Zahir got airbending too and nearly killed me.
But you took care of it, and what happened after Zahir? What good happened after defeating him? The Earth Kingdom was still left in shambles, which caused Kuvira.
The Earth Queen would still be alive. There would have been no crisis in the Earth Kingdom, and Kuvira wouldn't be in power.
I like how we're seeing all the connections throughout the seasons.
Nothing's changed.
You're right, Korra.
I am?
She is?
Come on, Tenzin, speak sense.
There will always be new conflicts and enemies to face.
Thank you.
But the important thing is to learn from your enemies, better yourself over time.
Why does she think that when she takes down one enemy, it will all just be over? Why does she think that? I mean, you'd think that someone who wanted to be the Avatar so much for so long would expect this kind of thing. Like, when did Aang ever have like an off day or like sort of time where he didn't have to fight? Surely throughout the history they would know that you're going to have to fight basically constantly. There will always be something to protect people from.
But no matter what happens, no matter how crazy things get, I'll always try to restore balance.
Excellent, thank you. That's all you need to do. That's all that was required of the Avatar. Is it ending there? Was it... Phew, thank you something, not just recap.
6 years, 4 months, and 14 days. Ugh, I can still taste it.
Does anyone else feel like throwing themselves overboard?
I spent the last few hours tuning out all these incredibly boring stories. Soon to become the greatest mover ever made! Bolin, as Nuktuk, hero of the South!
I thought we've already done this. Are we recapping this too? Or is this a sequel?
It's your true story, but we'll capitalize on the audience of the Nuktuk franchise.
Honestly, smart idea, good.
I left my friends and family to join up with a psychotic dictator who imprisoned me, and now I'm running back home with my tail between...
That's just general Bolin naivety, it's fine. Was Kuvira's the villain, blame her.
A gorgeous dame on his arm, and a song on his lips. He bursts into a rapturous melody.
It's a musical? You're making a musical?
I wasn't singing, you were not levitating, and Asami is just a friend, thank you very...
Shoot this down.
You want to tell my true story? You should start from when I met Korra. She came to the bending arena one fateful night.
So what's the emphasis on this recap? The first one is just the relationships and how far Marco's come. Second one was cool. Is this? It's probably Bolin. So it really is just the trio. Why Asami again just feels kind of left out. Where's her recap? First one is for Marco, second one is for Korra, third is for Bolin. It shows their imbalance.
Korra out of the way, the time is right to try to take out Bolin. So, the worst of the worst, team up.
You're really putting Bolin at the center of this conflict now.
Flying chaotic chaos machine. He's joined by Vatu.
Oh, all together now. That would be very bad, seeing those two together.
How would that even happen?
Hello.
Hey, it's Zahir.
Let me conference in. I'm on.
Oh, this is just a giant team up. Okay, this is got to be the best part of the episode.
I'm totally in for taking out Bolin. He's way too powerful and awesome, but can we please not include...
Not include who?
Did actually all the voice actors back for this?
Diabolical but incredibly boring and unpopular sorcerer from the north.
Really unpopular and boring. Honestly, this isn't a bad movie. It's more interesting than the recaps that we had.
Beautiful but emotionally unstable water tribe princess.
One way to describe her.
The heir to a vast Earth Kingdom fortune.
He has been surrounded by ladies. That is something this is highlighting. Is this what this recap's meant to be doing? Or it's highlighting specifically Bolin and Opal's relationship. That I like, because that needs to be fixed, because she still is unsure.
Bolin sought advice from the man who started it all, the wisest of the wise, me!
It's interesting that he sees himself this way.
Fearsome foursome. I'm not really sure if I like fearsome. I mean, evil squared might be better.
Evil square.
Meanwhile, back with Zombie Amon.
Okay, guys, I think we finally ditched him.
Zombie.
Haha, very funny. I'm still on the line.
I love this so much.
Hello? Anyone there?
They ditched him again.
Magically passing on the airbender power of flight!
What? No.
Okay, that part seems a little unbelievable.
Like the other bit where apparently something's gonna get cut, but like they still get together, fine.
Fight alongside Rotan and Juji against the Terror Square!
Terror Square, really?
But Legion of Darkness. Well, we'll put a focus group on it.
I love his brainstorming.
Then he flies around in the sky, pushes Zahir into it, turning him into wind!
Huh? What?
Is almost upon him! And when Juji shoots his laser,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
setting him free and hit Bolin, turning him into a giant.
Honestly, this just kind of just shows off how crazy the lore of Avatar is and how all this kind of makes a bit of sense.
That they combine into one horrifying monster. Giant Bolin and the evil Unavatu fight.
Unavatu.
Bolin's spiritual mojo is so strong that he attracts the Queen of the Fairy.
What? She didn't have the wings. Did she have the wings? I don't even know.
And sprays him into the sky.
I love this recap for season
turns
2.
into a dragon, he goes into the spirit world and he saves the Avatar.
I love how nuts that really just emphasizes how nuts season 2 was, because that basically was it. Just switch out Bolin for Korra.
You like that? It didn't make any sense. What about Zombie Amon? What happened to... Are you guys crazy?
It's just a mover. Don't overthink it. It's like a ride.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
And yep, ending. That's perfect. Okay, I don't even know what to say about this one. This was just pure fun. Like, obviously, this is just a recap episode. They know the end of the show is coming, so they're just reminding everyone of all the, I guess, big moments ready for the final. Perfectly fine with that. I think I'm just personally not a big fan of recap episodes because it just feels it's filler. It's to fill in the time. To me, it almost feels like they don't trust the audience to have remembered everything, which granted could be something, but then again, it's an episode that's being wasted on just stuff that's already happened. So I'm kind of 50-50. I think they made it as fun as possible, so that was nice. So yeah, the recaps here were basically for Mako, Korra, and Bolin. Now I think while fine, I think that does emphasize how lacking Asami has been in this show overall. She came into it rather late. It makes it feel like the Avatar gang is actually the trio of Bolin, Mako, and Korra, and Asami's just kind of on the side. I think that's what this does emphasize to me. While not intentional, I do think that's what this accidentally does. Because when you look back at Asami's character, she's basically just been there for the relationship drama, the father plot, and that's basically it. While everyone else has gotten far more to do. Literally, Asami runs a company and nothing has been done with that, basically. And it's just quite disappointing. And this episode kind of shows it off because they only highlight the 3 of them through the flashbacks, not Asami as well, because there was nothing to highlight for Asami. But looking at the flashbacks and what they do for the characters. So I like that in each of them, it does do some kind of development for the characters that are thinking back on everything. For Mako, he's trying to connect with Wu, I guess, and just open him up to not being so self-involved like that. But his whole recap was about the relationship drama, and it is kind of sad that a lot of Marco's character is defined by the relationship drama. Of course, after it, he's now trying to figure out who he is himself, which is good, but throughout season 1 and 2, he was kind of just defined by it quite a bit. Of course, he had his relationship with Bolin, being brothers who grew up without parents. All that stuff is good, but the majority of it, highlighted by this recap, is that he is just the relationship guy. So ultimately, that one is just to emphasize his own journey in that he's still trying to figure out who he is outside of Korra and Asami. It was cool that his family got to hear about it and Prince Wu got to hear about it. And it also highlights his own, like Mako's own flaws and sort of shortcomings as well, showing how he didn't handle those situations the best, and just he's developed from that. He's gotten better. Now he can see them as friends and everything has worked out, so that's good. Then we get to Korra's recap, which basically is again her main journey throughout this whole show, is just whether or not the world needs her and what she is trying to do as the Avatar. And this finally kind of answered the question. The world will always need her, balance will never be achieved. There always needs to be someone there to fight against the evil that will always be present, because that is balance, good versus evil. That will always be there. To try and make it so that you no longer need the Avatar would be to reattach Rava and Vatu, and I don't think that's ever going to happen. Right now, it's kind of the best state. With Rava and Vatu separated, you allowed the world to become this, which is pretty good compared to what it was. If you shove them back together, you probably end up in the same world that Wan had. Not that great. So really, to keep balance is just to have the Avatar present and fight against whatever evil shows up. That's the answer. And hopefully Korra's understood that from this. Tenzin definitely flat out said it, so that's good. Even though it may not seem like the world needs her, the evil will always be there. And they will always need someone, the Avatar, to fight against it. But then definitely the best part of this episode was just Varric going on about like the past seasons and recapping Bolin's side of things. I think that did partly 2 things. One, just highlighting Bolin's relationships and what he's been through and just emphasizing him and Opal, and hopefully them getting back together and being strong and being good by the end of this, hopefully. But also I think it's kind of the writers making fun of themselves and also trying to say don't take this too seriously when things go wrong, which I really do like. They made so much fun of season 2 with Unlock as the villain, with Vatu, and just the crazy finale of season 2. And they basically say that it doesn't make any sense, but also don't think about it too much. And I actually really like that. I think I analyze things a lot just because I enjoy thinking about like what the creatives and writers and just everyone involved in shows put behind it to make this story. But also, it's fiction. You don't have to overcomplicate everything, and if it's fun and you can enjoy it. So I think I just really like how this kind of solves both things, and you just had Bolin screaming at everyone saying it makes no sense, but also just having just the fact that people enjoyed the story. I think that handled it amazingly well, and it allowed the writers to make fun of themselves for season 2 and this, and also basically say it's not that big of a deal. But ultimately, there's not really a lot left I can talk about this episode, because development-wise, it's just recap. It's just to show how they've developed and maybe little bits of development that they got from just being told this and going over it again. I'm trying to think if this will hint to anything. It probably definitely hints into stuff that's going forward. Mako finding out who he is without relationships. Korra being comfortable with the idea of being the avatar that's always there to protect people and always fight and stand against evil. And then I guess Bolin's stuff is to just show that he will get back together with Opal, because that's basically what Varric said where the story goes. He will get back with Opal and things will go well. He'll finally have that sort of romance that he has always wanted. That's something that Bolin's always carried with him. He wanted love. He tried to have it with Korra, didn't end well, and he got hurt by it. He had the whole thing with Ginger, where he just did not understand that the whole thing. You had Esko, which was just awful sort of relationship, and now you have Opal, which is unbelievably healthy, and it's the best thing he could get, and I want him to get back with that and just have that end happily. And then I guess for my last initial thought, this being a recap probably means that the next episodes are going to be like parts of a giant final, I would assume, because you wouldn't just do a whole recap after like quite a good gradual build up and then continue with a gradual build up into like 2 or 1 episode finals. This probably is meaning the next bit is the ultimate part. The next bit is it. It's all going to be happening there. We know Kuvira is going after the swamp vines. Time has passed because of this, so meaning she's probably advanced more with that. And we know that that's going to bring disaster. That's going to be the big threat that people are going to be facing. And I'm assuming the next episode it will be revealed and unleashed. And from there, that's basically it. That is the final, which seems really good in my head, because now you have like, I think 4 or 5 episodes left. I think 4. So they can devote all of that to ending this show in the best way possible. To begin, I think at the start this episode, I did not think I was going to enjoy it. But then the last bit was just great. It really made a recap episode so much more fun, because I think ultimately recaps can be very boring. It's just going over things you already know. It's kind of a waste of time. But this made it so much more fun. Having Varric narrate the last bit was perfect. Then just going over the catch then, obviously got to start with Korra, most important, the Avatar. I'm glad that it finally answered the question that she's been going through this entire show. I'm hoping that there's also another moment where she does reaffirm this to herself, because it feels kind of that the main question for the show has been answered in a recap, unless their intention was to already answer this, but then again, she's still questioning it still. But like, it's nice that it made it clear. That's the takeaway. It's nice that it was finally made clear. The world will always need her. Balance means that you will always have someone ready to fight against whatever evil comes. There will always be someone bad that wants to do bad things. That's just the nature of reality. And Korra as the Avatar just needs to be ready and prepared to fight against that. It's all that is required of the Avatar. Yes, it's a big position and it's a big ask, but that is what balance is. The world will always need her. It may seem like it. It may seem like the world is able to cope on its own in certain moments, but there will always be something that will rise to be more powerful. Something that there'll always be another threat. There'll always be something, and that is the position the Avatar has to fill to fight against whatever that something is. Korra represents everything that goes against what's evil. Yes, the world and the people are part of that, but also Korra is sort of the manifestation. The Avatar is the manifestation of all the good that fights against the darkness that tries to crush the light. Mako's side of things, that I think was the bit that was kind of disappointing. I think there's different ways to look at it. I'm getting more fond of it in hindsight. I think just watching it, it feels like it's just going over all the relationship stuff, which was just not good. Then seeing the commentary of Mako, Prince Wu, the cousin, the grandma, that was quite fun and added a lot to it. And also I think that's another part of making fun of itself. The relationship stuff, where it never felt like it was going anywhere. Mako making bad decisions through it. It was quite funny having that all looked at again and done in a more comical way, where it doesn't really matter and it's just part of Mako's growth. I think the relationship drama in this show has always been kind of a problem. It felt I never liked relationship drama. It always feels like the main story, because relationship drama never really is the main story of anything unless it actually is like a romance movie. That's fine, but this is not that. Relationship drama shoved into another story that's not got anything to do with relationships almost makes me think that the writer isn't confident that their story is as interesting, so they throw in the relationship drama to keep something up for the audience, to have something else going on that's interesting as well. I would much rather have a show that is so confident in its story that they don't need that other side of relationship stuff to make it interesting or to try and capture attention that way. because it did not work in this show, but I liked they basically circumvented it into not being sort of anything relationship-wise. It's to build on Mako. So all that time spent with Asami, with Korra, fighting over him, in the end, it's Mako, and it's trying to build out who he is. No longer defined by relationships, because that's who he was. He's now trying to figure out who he is himself. That's good. That's a good use of it. But looking back, I think it does feel like they didn't know this to begin with. It felt like they were it almost felt like they were trying to recreate Aang and Katara. Avatar falling in love with one of the members of the Avatar gang. It felt like they wanted that familiarity in the new show. Of course, that's led to something different, and I'm glad it has, but it's clear from the start they didn't know if they actually wanted that to happen. With Aang and Katara, you knew that they were always going to end up together. I know there's different things going on in different shippers out there that wanted Katara with Zuko or something, but of course that didn't happen. The story was set up for Aang to eventually be with Katara, and that was fine. It wasn't relationship drama, it didn't take away from the story, it didn't distract from the story, that was just what was going to happen, and it was a sweet thing that you added in for Aang's personal stuff. Almost like a reward after dealing with the conflict and being selfless and all of this stuff, he finally got to have the life that he wanted. Here, it was basically used as the side plot going along the main plot, and whenever it did get to a point where the climax of this side plot was to have the two characters be together, it would always get undone, and it was just annoying like that. You could never get invested in the relationships because it was only used for drama. And I think I'm just so glad that this whole episode circumnavigated that. So looking back, I can't just think, oh, I didn't like that bit. I can now see it as just part of Mako's growth in his story. I like that a lot. Then Bolin's side of things, and I think he has a better sort of example of relationship stories in this, and I think there's a difference, because Mako and Asami, that was purposefully relationship drama. Bolin's stuff wasn't really drama, it was just him trying to find love, basically through trial and error. You had the whole thing with Korra, which crushed him and turned into a good, solid friendship. Then you had Ginger, which is again Bolin, naivety, just showing off what kind of character he was, and just being lovable like that. And now he's just grown a lot, and it's just a nice contrast between where he was then, where he is now. Then you had Esker, which shows him exactly, I think that story just shows us how desperate he was for love. Going to someone like that and not being able to break away, but eventually finally being able to, showed a remarkable growth for him, and made him strong enough and I think deserving of the relationship he currently has. Now with Opal, I like that his whole flashback thing kind of goes into the future a little bit, because it makes me confident that they will get back together. I love that relationship, I want it to end well, because right now he just needs to get back to Opal and talk things out, because right now she doesn't know if he's still with Kuvira, which puts their relationship at jeopardy. And just seeing this recap just shows how desperate this character was to find someone to love, how hard he's worked to get there, and now he finally has it, but it's sort of teetering on the edge and he just has to get back to her. So I love what kind of stakes this flashback put on Bolin's story. Then I think again this episode really does highlight Asami's character in this show. Because I really like Asami, I think she's a great character, she fits in well with the group, but her purpose in the show and her stories have kind of felt disappointing. The first season she was used for the romance drama, she was there to be Mako's girlfriend and love interest, and just to cause friction within the group. That was it. Actually, that wasn't it. She had the whole conflict with her father, which was nice. That was a good story. She worked really well in season 1. She wasn't just the girlfriend, she then had connections with the main villain, the betrayal, and it added personal stakes to the actual story. Perfect. Season 2, she was completely forgotten about because it exploded in just lore, and a non-bender could not keep up with everything that was happening, so she completely got sidelined. And I think the one thing that I remember most about her story there was that she was basically the driver. She was the one that flew, I guess, the bison and got Tanrock away from the fighting. That was it. That was her big moment in the final. And that is just disappointing and just shows that the writers couldn't figure out a way to get her in there, which again is a difficult thing, but it worked for Sokka. Sokka was able to keep up with everything going on in the original show, so it can work for non-benders. That's proof. Asami just felt completely sidelined there. Season 3 got a bit better, she came back, she did things, but on the top of my head, I can't think of like a big story point that she got. We know that she was the head of the company, and that she was basically just there to help everyone out and do stuff like that. She was a character at least, but on the top of my head, I can't think of a big story that she had. I think she had a big moment where she basically freed Korra from the Red Lotus and wound up in the desert. That was the big moment for her, I think. Other than that, because that showed off her ingenuity and it set up a good sort of point for her journey. She could have been like the tactical leader of the group. She was smart, she had experience and strategy. She could have been a kind of leader for them, but that just never went anywhere. And now in season 4, her storyline is building up with her father again and rehashing that, and I feel like it's going to end badly again, and it feels like it's going to be a repeat. I would love it if she does get the relationship back and it does end well, but it feels too good for the story if he does turn evil again, becoming an engineer for Kuvira for whatever weapon she's making. It works far too well for the story. But then if that happens, it's basically rehashing the same betrayal from season 1. Which I would not be happy about. Asami deserves so much better as a character, and she deserves better stories. The potential is there. It's just not being utilized. And this whole episode kind of emphasized it because the flashbacks were for the 3, not for the 4 of them. Asami has been sidelined yet again. But then Varric, I think his side of things was just amazing. Loved what he added to this episode because it made it no longer just a boring recap. It made it actually quite interesting and quite funny and just enjoyable. Watching him like just construct his own story of events and just managing to get all the villains together and talking was just really good. I think they got all the voice actors back for that. I don't know if they were all, I'd assume they're all different voice actors. I don't know if they reused any, but I just think it's so funny if they got all the voice actors back. Vaatu, Unalaq, Zahir, Aman, all of them back together to voice this, and it's just quite fun. Like hearing Vaatu talk on a telephone and laugh like this and just be casual, it's just so weird in the contrast from what they were, and I kind of want more of it now. It was such a nice little parody of what everything that's happened, like the way Varric described the plot. I think it was such a great sort of thing to do, to have the writers make fun of themselves for season 2. I think that's a very divided topic to talk about. I think season 2 definitely is the worst season of Korra. While not like actually bad, it has a lot of things that aren't great, and so in comparison to the other seasons, it doesn't work that well. Like you can definitely see different things could have changed to make it better. Again, Asami is like the biggest thing from that season. She just does nothing. The villain, again, boring. They even say here he's boring, and they were just trying to get rid of him. But I just love that the writers made fun of it, show that it made no sense, but also on the flip side, so that if people enjoy it, it's fiction. Let them enjoy it. It's fun. So I love this balance that they did, and I think it really makes season 2 a lot better in hindsight, knowing that later on they make fun of it, but also say if you enjoyed it, that's great. This felt like what the play was in Avatar, when they had that whole thing where they recapped the seasons. This is what this was. This was their version of the Fire Island performance thing. I think the Fire Island performance did do it better because it was done through a whole showmanship way, which was just really fun, watching a play of the seasons, and obviously it ending through the lens of Ozai. But this was another fun way. I think it started off kind of boring, but then got so much more creative with Varric's just interpretation of things. This was awesome. Now this makes me think even more that this is probably going to go into like a 4-part final maybe with the same way the Last Airbender did it, where they had the Fire Island play or whatever, and then they went into a giant movie of things. As for what's next, it's kind of pretty easy to sort of think about. Nothing really new happens in this episode, so you just go off what happened in the last one. Kuvira's messing with the swamp. Hopefully Toph comes back and helps with that. But everyone, it seems to be in like good sort of positions. I like that basically this episode we get to see Bolin and Varric traveling. That's the main thing that happened here. In the last episode, they were getting on the boat. This one, they're sailing. That means in the next one, they could end up at like Air Temple Island or something, and everyone can be reunited, ready for whatever is to come. So this episode basically just bridges the gap in everything, and hopefully we'll get all the characters together again. But we still got a lot up in the air. Sue is still captured with her children and her husband. One of them are captured. Korra still isn't able to use the Avatar state fully because she's still being haunted by things. Prince Wu is still kind of a mess who needs to develop a lot if he wants to be able to replace Kuvira if they can defeat her. So there's still a lot left to work on, and I can't wait to see how it all does work, because it feels like this episode brought it all together nicely, ready for what should hopefully just be a big explosive final where they're able to do all of this very quickly in whatever Kuvira is planning. But yeah, overall, I think I really enjoyed this episode. I think the way it started made me think it was going to be boring, but I just love how they ended it, and they made it so creative. Just by adding Varric and narrating over a recap was just done perfectly. Just thinking back and watching how this episode progressed is awesome. Starting off with Mako, going through the boring relationship stuff, and ultimately ending in just showing it was development for him. It circumnavigated all the relationship thing and added it to his own character and his own journey, showing that that's who he was, and now he's taking the time to find who he is outside of relationships. Perfect. Then on to Korra's, where we get to see her whole journey, wanting to be the Avatar, not knowing what to do, thinking the world doesn't need her, and ultimately answering the question that this show has posed for such a long time: what is balance, and does the world need her? Yes, the Avatar is the embodiment of all that's good in this world, and there will always be something evil that wants to destroy the world and just disrupt balance. Korra's position is to make sure that doesn't happen. There will always be a need for her. And then Varric's, where they completely take it into another level, going through Bolin, putting it into just this crazy sense, adding a bunch of stuff in while also being able to show off Bolin's own story there, was done so perfectly and made this episode so enjoyable compared to what a regular recap could be. It reminds me so much of the Fire Island performance we saw in The Last Airbender. I think that one was definitely, I would say, more enjoyable just watching the entire play, but this one was a good successor to that. But yeah, with that said, that does bring me to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments, and with that, I will see you on the next one for Season 4, Episode 9. See ya!